I've never really believed in cryptids or folklore, even though I've lived in Kentucky my whole life. You grow up hearing stories about haunted bridges, the go-man, things in the woods. They're as common as thunderstorms. But they never meant anything. They were just old stories told by people who had too much beer or not enough light. That changed last fall. I was a senior at Jefferson County High, working on a video project for my media class. It was supposed to be a short horror film, 3 to 5 minutes, anything we wanted, as long as we filmed it ourselves. My friend Sean had the idea to shoot it at the Poplick Trestle, out past Louisville. He said we could make it about the go-man, some found footage angle, throw in a cheap monster costume, film some shaky flashlight footage under the bridge. I remember laughing when he pitched it. It sounded fun, dumb, and perfect. There were 4 of us: me, Sean, our friend Cassie who handled the camera, and Max who played the victim. We went out on a Thursday night, late enough to avoid anyone bothering us. It was cool and dry, moonlight peeking through thin clouds. The trestle cut across the woods like something out of a different time, rusted, towering, unnaturally still. We parked down a side road and hiked in, keeping low with flashlights off, just in case. You're not supposed to be out there, obviously. There are signs, fences, warnings about the danger of the tracks. People have died trying to climb it. But we weren't climbing, just filming under it. That's what I keep telling myself. We started around 11 p.m. Sean gave Max a bloody shirt and plastic horns, and I had my lines memorized. Cassie followed behind us with the camera, filming as we investigated fake noises and got picked off one by one. It was cheesy, but fun. We laughed through most of it, redid lines when someone tripped or dropped their flashlight. At some point, Sean told me to walk up onto the incline beneath the bridge and act like I'd heard something. He said to look freaked out, pause, and then sprint like something was behind me. So I did. I climbed the gravel incline and stood under the base of the trestle, staring into the dark trees, pretending to hear something. I froze in place, wide-eyed, then turned and bolted back toward the camera. They loved it. We wrapped up around 1 a.m. and drove home, joking about how bad Max looked in the costume and whether we could add fake screams in post. It was just another night. At least, it felt that way then. The next morning, I pulled the footage off Cassie's camera and started editing. That's when I saw it. In the shot where I stood under the trestle, about 7 seconds in, there was a figure in the background, far up on the bridge, not moving, just standing there. I paused it and leaned in. It wasn't one of us. We were all accounted for. Max was behind the camera at that point, Cassie holding the mic. No one else was on the bridge. I scrubbed back and forth through the clip. The figure was tall, thin. It looked wrong. The legs were bent backward, like a deer or something walking upright. The head was slightly downturned. You could barely make out the shape of horns. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't tell anyone right away. I thought maybe it was a tree, a weird shadow, maybe even something we didn't notice at the time. But the longer I watched it, the more I realized something else. There was no sound in that clip. The audio was still, dead silent. Not even wind or footsteps. And then I noticed something else. At the 10-second mark, just before I start running, there's a voice. You have to crank the audio to hear it, but it's there. It says, "Run." Not in my voice. Not in anyone's voice I recognized. It sounded dry, hollow, like it had been recorded on an old tape deck and played backward. And the moment I heard it, I got this horrible feeling behind my eyes, like a headache blooming from the inside. I showed it to Cassie. She freaked out, said we had to delete it, said she didn't want her name attached to it. Sean, on the other hand, was obsessed. He wanted to go back out there. We captured something real, he said. No one's ever gotten proof like this. I didn't go with them. That was a week ago. They never came back. Cassie stopped responding to texts. Her mom filed a report. Sean's car was found at the same trailhead where we parked, doors locked, key still inside. I tried to tell the police what happened, but what could I say? That we filmed a cryptid? That my friends walked back into the woods because of something we caught on tape? I checked the footage again last night. It's different now. The figure isn't just watching anymore. It's closer. Still up on the bridge, but facing the camera now. You can see the horns more clearly. And its face, or whatever you want to call it, looks like it's shifting. Like it's learning. And in the background, under the static and wind, I swear I can hear my own voice, whispering. Come back. One more shot. Just one more take. I didn't say that. I never said that. But I've started dreaming in first person, as if I'm watching myself from the bridge. I think that's how it works. It sees you once, then it remembers, then it becomes. I don't know if this counts as a skinwalker story. Honestly, I don't know what the hell it was. All I can tell you is this. I used to think the scariest thing you could find in the woods was an animal, a bear, a mountain lion, maybe some psycho off his meds. I don't believe that anymore. There are things out there that were faces. Things that watch, that wait. And once you see one, I don't think it ever fully lets you go. It happened last fall. My friends and I had planned a road trip through the Southwest. Just 3 guys, 2 tents, a borrowed truck, and a week off between college semesters. Our last night was supposed to be near Shiprock. None of us had ever been there, and we figured it'd be the perfect place to wrap up the trip. Quiet, remote, big skies. I remember thinking how still it felt when we pulled off the highway and started heading down those dusty roads. Like everything out there was holding its breath. We found a little campsite off a narrow dirt path. No other cars. No signs of life. Just us, a cooler full of cheap beer, and a sky packed with stars. We set up camp, built a fire, and started cooking. Around 6 p.m., while the sun was dropping low, we saw a ranger coming up the trail. He was alone. Looked mid-40s. Cleaned uniform, badge, the whole deal. He didn't say much at first, just stood there at the edge of the clearing, hands on his belt, watching us. I remember feeling weirdly uneasy before he even spoke. Then he said, "You boys need to break camp before sunset." We kind of laughed, thinking he was joking, but he didn't smile. "You're not supposed to be in this area after dark," he said. "It's not safe." My buddy Kyle asked why. He just shook his head and looked off toward the hills behind us. "I've already said too much. You need to go." Then he walked away. That should have been enough. A uniformed ranger tells you to leave? You leave. But we were cocky. Thought maybe he was trying to spook some out-of-towners with ghost stories. And by the time he disappeared down the path, the fire was going strong and the beer was starting to hit. We stayed. By 11 p.m., the wind had picked up. We killed the fire and headed into the tents. Kyle and I shared one, and our third guy, Micah, took the smaller one closer to the edge of camp. I remember falling asleep to the sound of distant wind cutting through the trees. The kind that makes your tent fabric flutter just enough to sound like footsteps. I woke up sometime after midnight. At first, I thought it was just a dream, this clicking, sniffing sound just outside the tent. Then I heard Micah whisper from across the fire pit. "Hey, you guys up?" Kyle sat up beside me. "What?" "I think there's someone walking around," Micah said. "I saw something." I unzipped the flap and poked my head out. There was nothing at first, just the dark and a faint red glow from the fire embers. Then to my left, I saw a figure step out from the trees. It was the ranger. Same uniform. Same guy. Only something about him looked off. His mouth was slack, hanging slightly open. His arms didn't swing when he walked. His movements were stiff, mechanical, like someone trying to remember how to be human. Kyle crawled out of the tent beside me. "Dude, is that the same?" But before he could finish, a second ranger came into view from the other side of the clearing. Same man, same uniform, same walk. 2 of them, at the same time. Micah screamed from his tent. "What the F***K is going on?" We all scrambled. I grabbed my boots and took off into the woods barefoot, not even checking to see if the others were behind me. I don't know how long I ran. Branches whipped my arms, rocks cut into my feet, but I didn't stop. I didn't even look back until I saw headlights through the trees. I burst out onto the side of a gravel road and collapsed near a parked truck. My chest was heaving. I was crying and didn't even realize it. That's when I saw the man standing next to the truck. It was the ranger again. But this time, he looked real. His face had color. His posture was natural. He saw me and ran over, pulling a radio off his belt. "Where are the others?" he asked. I couldn't speak. I just pointed back into the trees. Within minutes, more trucks showed up. Floodlights. Dogs. Voices shouting through the woods. They found Kyle about 100 yards from me, curled up behind a rock, barefoot and shaking. He kept saying, "It wasn't him. It wasn't him." They didn't find Micah. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever. We spent the next 36 hours answering questions from local deputies and search and rescue teams. They were polite, but you could tell none of them believed what we said. Eventually, they ruled it an accidental disappearance. No foul play. No explanation. But that's not what stuck with me. What stuck with me was the dash cam footage. A week after we got home, a sheriff's deputy emailed me a clip, part of the body cam worn by the real ranger who found us. He thought it might help us get closure. The footage shows me stumbling out of the woods, pale and bleeding. Behind me, about 20 feet into the tree line, you can see a figure step out for a second. It looks like Micah, only his head is tilted at a strange angle. And he's not wearing a shirt. And he's smiling. Too wide. Too still. I haven't camped since. I won't even drive near Shiprock anymore. Because somewhere out there, something has my friend's face. And it knows exactly how to wear it. We were about 20 minutes outside of Laredo when it happened. It was just past 1 a.m., early spring. Tulane Highway cutting through the dark Texas scrub, the kind of stretch where you can drive for miles without seeing another set of headlights. No streetlights, no signs, just the faint glow of our dashboard, a cooler in the back, and the soft hum of tires on asphalt. I was driving. Tyler rode shotgun, half asleep with a Slurpee from a gas station hours behind us. Alicia was passed out in the back seat, earbuds in, hoodie up, arms crossed. We were heading home from a concert in San Antonio, one of those spontaneous road trips that used to feel easy when we were younger, when you didn't think twice about 4 hours of driving and no real plan. We were talking about the show, the setlist, the crowd, when Tyler leaned forward suddenly and tapped the windshield. What the hell is that? At first, I didn't see it. Just the usual blur of headlights bouncing off brush and fence posts. Then I saw the movement. Something darted across the road, maybe 50 yards ahead. Fast, low, but big, too big to be a possum or a stray dog. I didn't even have time to think before it crossed directly into our path. I hit it. Hard. There was a sickening thud, like a body without bones, and the front of the car jolted sideways. I slammed on the brakes, and we screeched to a stop, the rear fishtailing slightly on the gravel shoulder. Alicia snapped awake, gasping. Jesus, what was that? Tyler said, already unbuckling. I climbed out with my phone flashlight and looked back at the road behind us. Nothing. No body. No movement. Just a long black smear where something had crossed. I crouched and checked under the car. Still nothing. No fur. No blood. Just those long, gouged scratches in the hood, 4 of them, running straight down the driver's side like claws. They weren't shallow either. They'd torn through the paint like it was soft plastic. Couldn't have been a deer, I muttered. Tyler walked up beside me, shining his own light. That wasn't a normal animal. Did you see its legs? I didn't see anything, I said. It was just gone. We stood there for a while, the engine clicking softly as it cooled, surrounded by open fields and a kind of silence that didn't feel natural. Eventually, we got back in and kept driving. No one said much for the rest of the trip. It wasn't until the next morning that I noticed my license plate was missing. The front plate completely gone. Not cracked or bent or hanging by a screw. Just missing. As if someone had unscrewed it clean. I even checked the ground in front of the car, the wheel wells, the driveway. Nothing. I thought maybe the impact had knocked it loose and we didn't notice. So I drove back out to the same stretch of road that afternoon. It looked different in the daylight. Smaller. Less threatening. I found the same place. I recognized the dirt pull-off and the faint smear on the asphalt. Still no license plate. No animal either. Nothing dead. No crows circling. Not even tire debris. It was like the road had swallowed the whole thing. Later that night, Tyler and I talked about it again. He swore it had walked upright just before we hit it. Said it moved like it wasn't used to moving. We started throwing around possibilities, a person, a deer with mange, a trick of the headlights, but none of them made sense. And then, a week later, the envelope showed up. Plain, yellow, padded, no return address. My name handwritten across the front in thin, shaky letters. Inside was my missing license plate. It was clean, not scratched, not dented, just cold, like it had been kept somewhere cold. And taped to the back with black electrical tape was a photo. It was dark and grainy, printed on cheap glossy paper, but it was unmistakable. It showed me asleep in bed, curled slightly on my side, one hand sticking out from under the blanket. The angle was from inside my bedroom, right by the door. I live alone, and I never leave my door unlocked. I called Tyler immediately. He didn't answer. I texted him. Nothing. Around midnight, he finally replied. Something's outside. Looks like you. I called again. No answer. The next morning, I drove to his apartment. His car was there. Lights off. No one answered when I knocked. Eventually, his landlord let me in. The place was empty. Nothing broken, nothing taken, except Tyler. His keys were on the counter, his shoes by the door, and on the kitchen table was a gas station receipt, timestamped the same night I hit that thing on the road. I tried Alicia next. No reply. Her roommate later posted online asking if anyone had seen her. Said she never made it to class. Left her laptop, her wallet. The police listed her as missing with no signs of foul play. I checked the news. There was nothing. No mention of an accident. No animal sightings. No missing persons tied to that stretch of highway. But I kept the photo. I shouldn't have, but I did. And a few days later, I found another one. This time it was taped to my bathroom mirror. Same cheap paper. Same off-kilter angle. It showed my front door, open, and something standing just inside. Tall, narrow, the shape of a person, but not quite. Too thin, legs slightly bent backwards, like a deer standing on two legs. And its arms, long and straight, hanging below the knees. Its face was almost familiar, like someone had tried to draw a human from memory. I still don't know what we hit that night, but I know it wasn't an animal. I know it saw me, and now, every night, I hear it. At first it was scratching, light, like fingernails on drywall. Then the footsteps started, slow, uneven, inside the walls. Last night, I woke up to a sound like breathing. Not outside, not in the hallway, under my bed. I turned on every light, tore the place apart. Nothing, but taped to my window this morning. Outside, barely held on by the condensation, was a third photo. It was blurry, the kind you take while walking. It showed a bathroom mirror, my bathroom, and in the reflection, someone holding a phone. Only it wasn't me. It was taller, grayer, wearing my face like a stretched-out Halloween mask. The smile was too wide. It's not trying to kill me. It's trying to replace me. I never liked the woods much. Not the deep kind, the ones where the trees feel older than the country and the air goes still without warning. But last summer, I ended up in the middle of a forest so remote we didn't even have bars on our phones. And I haven't slept right since. It started with a land inheritance. My friend Drew had just gotten this huge patch of rural property outside Parkersburg, West Virginia, 40 acres, mostly undeveloped forest and steep hills. It had belonged to a distant uncle who died suddenly, no kids or next of kin, so it passed to Drew through some obscure clause. He invited me and our other buddy Ryan to check it out for a weekend. It was supposed to be a fun trip. Bit of hiking, beers around a fire, and maybe clearing space for a future hunting cabin. The place was remote, like miles off the highway remote. Dirt roads, old timberland, and no neighbors for what felt like forever. The house itself was gone, rotted down to the foundation, but the land still had a weird presence to it. Lots of overgrown trails and these massive, gnarled trees with carved initials dating back to the 40s and 50s. It felt like someone had been there recently, even though no one was supposed to be. We started hiking early on the second day, following a dry creek bed down toward the base of a ridge. That's when we found the cave. It wasn't marked. No trail led to it. It was just there, behind a curtain of ferns and half-collapsed brush. The entrance was wide enough to crawl through on your stomach, maybe 3 feet tall and 6 across. Inside, the ground sloped downward and disappeared into pitch black. Drew said it was probably an old mining shaft. Ryan joked it looked like a coyote den for dinosaurs. I didn't say anything, but I hated it immediately. There was this smell. Sharp, wet, not quite rot, more like animal breath. And bones. We could see them scattered just inside the mouth. Small ones, maybe raccoon or rabbit, cracked and sucked clean. Some had scratch marks along the ribs. Drew wanted to go in. Ryan egged him on. I said hell no. We compromised. We'd camp near it, not right on top of it, and explore the ridge in the morning. I didn't like the idea of sleeping anywhere near that thing, but I wasn't about to hike back uphill alone. We set up camp on a flat spot about 50 yards from the cave, behind a fallen oak. Ate canned chili, drank warm beers, and eventually passed out under a blanket of stars. The night was dead quiet. No bugs. No owls. Just the wind through the trees, soft and restless, like something pacing just out of sight. Sometime around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound I'll never forget. Scraping. Not footsteps. Not twigs breaking. It was close. Right next to the tent wall. A slow, steady dragging sound across the nylon like fingernails or claws. Then a pressure, something pressing into the fabric, just behind my back. I froze. Held my breath. I could hear it breathing. Wet, uneven. Like it was sniffing through the material. It moved around the side of the tent toward Drew's. The sound faded. I waited at least 10 minutes before unzipping the flap and slipping out. Everything looked normal. The fire was just embers, tent still upright, trees still standing. But when I shined my light toward the cave, I swear I saw something duck out of the beam. Pale, thin, crawling low to the ground. I woke the others. Drew thought I was messing with him. Ryan said I probably heard a deer. But in the morning, we saw tracks. Not footprints. Not hooves. Just these long grooves in the dirt leading from the cave entrance to the back of Drew's tent, then circling to mine. And something else, claw marks. On the tent itself. For parallel scratches, faint but deliberate, drawn across the nylon right where I'd felt the pressure. We packed up fast. Drew insisted on checking the cave one last time before we left. Ryan and I waited at the edge while he crouched down with a flashlight. He was quiet for a while. Then he said, "You guys need to see this." We followed him in, maybe 10 feet down, belly crawling on dead leaves and sharp stone. That's when we saw the drag marks, long, deep, embedded into the ground like something had been pulling itself out. Not in, out. And near the back wall, there was a second, smaller tunnel, almost vertical. Claw marks ran along the sides. And inside it, we found boot prints. Not big ones. Small, like a child's. And beside them, a scrap of chewed flannel cloth. Drew didn't own anything flannel. Neither did I. But Ryan did. He brought a flannel shirt, red and black, for the cooler nights. We all remembered him wearing it the day before. He wasn't wearing it now. We looked at each other, confused, but Ryan just stood there, staring into the tunnel. Then he turned and smiled. Something about that smile made my stomach drop. It was too wide. The wrong kind of teeth. And his eyes didn't track right when he looked at us, like he was trying to remember how to move them. We left. Ryan came with us. Still joked. Still laughed. But something was off. He stopped eating meat. Stopped sleeping much. Started going outside at weird hours, just standing there, barefoot in the grass, watching the tree lean. A week later, he disappeared. Drew and I filed a report. The police searched the woods. Never found the cave. But I dream about it now. The narrow tunnel. The chew marks. The thing I saw in the flashlight beam that night. And every now and then, I get packages in the mail. No return address. Inside, pieces of red flannel. Damp, cold, and covered in dirt. I don't even like talking about this anymore. Not because I'm scared people won't believe me, I know they won't, but because saying it out loud makes it feel more real. Like I'm inviting it back in. It started as a class assignment. I'm a third-year environmental science major, and one of our labs was focused on drone-based topography and vegetation mapping. We were supposed to pick an off-grid area, fly a basic mapping pattern with the school's DJI drone, and create a 3D render of the terrain. I chose a patch of restricted desert land in southeast Utah. No structures, no people, no wildlife concerns. I'd found a section of disused government-owned range just outside of Blanding that hadn't been touched in years. The site wasn't officially off-limits, just forgotten. There were no trails. The land was flat, mostly red rock and loose brush. I went out there alone on a Saturday morning. Flew the drone for about an hour, 3 battery cycles, smooth coverage, no issues. The sky was clear. Winds were light. I saw a few lizards, maybe a hawk overhead, but otherwise it was completely still. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world's holding its breath. I packed up, drove home, dumped the footage onto my laptop, and didn't think much of it. Until Sunday night. That's when I started editing the frames. At first, everything looked normal, clean top-down shots of layered rock, dry washes, and shadows cast by low ridges. But when I scrubbed through a wide-angle pass from about 400 feet up, I noticed something odd near the base of a bluff. A shadow that wasn't there before. Long, slender. I zoomed in. There was a figure, pale, upright, hunched slightly forward, crouched in the open. Its limbs were too long, arms hanging almost to the ground. And its head. Its head was tilted straight up, staring directly into the drone. I paused the frame. I don't know how to explain this, but the rest of the image was sharp. You could count individual rocks on the bluff. But the figure, it was blurred. Not pixelated, just smeared. Like the lens couldn't focus on it. Like the image itself was trying to forget it. I got chills. I checked the flight log. That segment was recorded at 10:41 a.m. I'd been sitting in my truck maybe 300 yards away at the time. I should have seen it, but I didn't. I showed the still frame to my professor, Dr. Fields, Monday afternoon. He looked at it for maybe 5 seconds before he said, "Where was this taken?" I told him. He asked for the raw files. I gave him the SD card. He didn't come to class the next day. That's when things got weird. On Wednesday, campus police locked down the building where Dr. Fields' office was. They didn't say why. Rumors flew: gas leak, security threat, personal emergency. But I knew something was wrong. Thursday morning, the department posted an announcement. Dr. Fields had died unexpectedly in his office. No cause of death released. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the frame, that impossible, blurred figure staring up at a camera 400 feet in the air. I opened my laptop to pull the backup files I'd saved. They were gone. Not just corrupted. Gone. Folder wiped clean. Even my system restore point was blank. I started to panic. I checked my cloud drive. Nothing. Then I checked my phone. In my recently deleted photos, there was a screenshot I didn't remember taking. It was the same frame, the blurred figure crouched in the rocks, staring upward. Only this time, the angle was different. It was taken from ground level. Like someone had been standing right behind me at the time I launched the drone. Like something else had taken a photo of me, watching it. I deleted it immediately. Hard reset the phone. But that didn't help. Because the next night, I started hearing things. It started as wind. Then low static, like the sound you hear when you turn an old TV to a dead channel. Then something deeper. Breathing. Ragged. Wet. Close. I stopped going to class. I stopped responding to texts. I tried calling the department, asking if anyone else had seen the drone footage, if anyone had talked to Dr. Fields after he took the card. No one would say anything. But then on Sunday night, someone slid an envelope under my dorm door. No name. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Not a printed digital image, an actual Polaroid. It showed my dorm building, shot from below, from outside. My window lit up on the 3rd floor, and in the corner of the frame, partially hidden in shadow, was that thing. Bent backward, long limbs, blurred face, looking up, looking straight into the lens. I haven't left my room since. I keep the blinds closed, lights off, devices unplugged. I don't own any screens anymore. I threw out my phone, my laptop, even my microwave, just in case. Because I think that's how it works. Not like a virus. Not like a monster. Like a photograph. Like an idea. You see it once. Even by accident. And then it knows you. And it wants to be seen again. That's what kills you. Not the teeth. Not the claws. The attention. And I think the worst part is, I don't even remember uploading that footage anywhere. But someone knocked on my door last night. And they whispered, "Can I see it too?"